Thanks everyone for making it out at the end of the day. Hope everyone's been having fun at Basecamp so far. I'm Anoop Kansupada. I lead strategic investments in commerce and DePIN at Mysten Labs. And I'm excited to be up here with all of these founders. Would love for you all to start with a brief introduction and what your company does.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bishay, CEO and co-founder of Karrier One. We are building a DePIN global network, so decentralized physical infrastructure using carrier-grade equipment and the deployer model, where the deployers are actually people that are a little bit familiar with wireless technologies and not just devices that are being deployed in basements. But the other cool thing that we're also building is the software side of it, which is the identity of having your telephone number connect to a wallet and eventually use that as a full-fledged digital identity product that could help you with two-factor authentication and global identity, basically. So that's it in a very high-level nutshell.
Could you give a bit about your background as well? Because it is super unique.
Yeah, so I've started telecom over 25 years ago, building networks globally. I have wireless, wireline experience. I co-founded a company that launched satellites to space called Kepler Communications. We have actually over 20 satellites in orbit today. But my full-time focus now is Karrier One. Super excited because telecom, we all heard like Web 3.0, and it's evolving real fast because of the software aspect of just being rapidly deploying projects. In infrastructure, unfortunately, we're kind of stuck in that telco 2.0 model, I would say, if that even. And the reason is it's heavily regulated industries that's really centralized and run usually by oligopolies. So we're kind of bridging that gap between the telco 2 world and kind of bringing it into let's call it the telco 3.0. That's how I like to reference it, and making things happen a lot faster.
Tim?
Hi, my name is Tim. Tim Kravchunovsky. I'm founder and CEO of Chirp. We're building a global wireless network for IoT and voice communication. The RAN infrastructure, the radio access network, is run by the people. So the model is as follows. You buy an antenna, you mount it on your house, and it provides coverage to the area. And for providing that coverage, you receive Chirp tokens. So this is how we incentivize the growth of the network. We have been building for 2 years. We're about to launch our project on Sui in the next couple of months, hopefully. And our radio access network is already live in 33 countries around the world. So this is kind of like high-level overview.
Thanks, Tim. Firdosh?
Hello, everyone. My name is Firdosh. I'm the founder and CEO of Drife. Drife is a decentralized ride-hailing platform via the Web3 taxi. I'm sure a lot of you heard about Imagine Uber on blockchain. We made it a reality. We were among the very few white paper about Uber on blockchain that became a reality and is a real-world application. We're live in India. We have 35,000 plus drivers on the platform who use Drive. So we are among very few real-world applications built on top of blockchain.
Thank you. So we've got 2 companies that have hardware and a marketplace. And so it comes to the question of what is DePIN? Who in here has bought a hardware device for DePIN to kind of earn tokens? And so that's DePIN is decentralized physical infrastructure. But that definition is drastically changing as new companies are coming online and they're selling excess capacity compute, excess capacity GPUs, excess capacity whatever. And then the definition is even going further of the marketplaces where you are figuring out how to connect 2 sides. And so can you talk about the challenges of building a marketplace for something that people existingly know about? But can you talk about your business model and how it is benefiting kind of the supply and the demand side and what you're doing to incentivize users on both sides?
Correct. So again, when we speak about this as a concept, and that's a concept that's been spoken for over a decade now, Uber on blockchain, because there are inherent problem with the business models, and there's no loyalty that exists today with the ride-hailing platform. You will choose a platform that will give you a cheaper ride because at the end, there's the same driver's going to come and pick you up. For us, it was a very important question. How do we bring loyalty in place? So a very basic of a USP is a no commission model, which is something drivers been fighting for so many years that they pay huge commission to ride-hailing platform. That's how we figure out the whole supply side, like how do we get drivers on our side. But when we do that, when we don't charge commission from driver, we have to make sure that it's been communicated to riders as well. And we didn't want it as a company to do it from our side, and that's where we make sure that driver do that. So we create the marketplace inside the cars. When a driver is picking you up from another ride-hailing platform, they're already incentivized to make sure that you download Drive as an application. So we have a referral campaign that goes within Drive application, where you get to create a passive source of income for yourself, which works like this. So if I refer you to the Drive application, every time you take a ride, I will make 1% of your fare that you're paying to driver as my referral income. So the bigger your network is, the more source of passive income you open for yourself. And that's how we not only incentivize you, but then you're motivated to tell others to join your network. Now, today we have drivers who have more than 500, 600 drivers and riders in their network, and they have referred them, and now they enjoy that passive source of income for themselves. So that's something that we figured out, to have this demand and supply in place, but not spend that kind of money that centralized platform have spent. So that's something that has worked for us till now. And I guess, that is what the decentralization aspect is also about, where you are not dependent upon spending a lot of money, like the VC money, to get your users on board, but how do you build a more sustainable model where the community earn from the money that has been paid by the community itself? Because the kind of incentive that we have kept talking for a long time about, like incentivize users from the token ecosystem fund, it's going to get over at one point. And what you're going to do beyond that? So you have to generate money from the ecosystem itself to be able to distribute it to the users. And that's what we are doing at Drive.
One of the incredible things that you guys are doing is that the drivers get 100% of the ride, and you're actually using blockchain to build a better model. And so I love to see blockchain being utilized to better a business model, not as a marketing angle. And so it's awesome. So kind of continuing on the idea of different types of incentive, Firdosh is doing that with the drivers. How are you guys thinking about incentive to get people to buy the hardware devices? And then also, how did you develop hardware devices? Because we work in a world of blockchain. There's a lot of software engineers here. Hardware, I don't know anything about, but I know it's hard. So how did you guys decide that you were going to make hardware devices? How did it what was the process to create that? How does one go, like Hong Kong, Shenzhen, I don't know. Where do you go to make a hardware device? How do you go figure it out? Do you guys have hardware people on your team? Talk about the devices themselves.
So we actually have two sides of our network. We have the usage side, and then we have the supply side. So the supply side is the crypto community that actually runs the radio access network, and it's powered by telecommunication antennas that are essentially miners. We were facing several challenges from the demand side and from placing those antennas. We are incentivizing users to put up those antennas on their houses, but there's other companies that are doing the same thing, and it's very difficult to regulate, like how you're going to be installing those antennas. And a lot of the hardware is actually sitting underneath people's desks, underneath their beds, and it's not providing carrier-grade connectivity to the network. So we decided to build our hardware and have stringent criteria what it needs to have. So like we built the actual hardware on it. and the firmware, and only those antennas are allowed to be installed, and they need to be installed in a certain way only outside. So you cannot install the antenna on the inside. And that actually brings up a good issue, because with other DePIN projects that are currently on the market right now, all of the tokens, they get distributed evenly between all of the antennas. And the more antennas you have on the market, the lower are your rewards. So if you incentivize people to install those antennas properly on your house, then less antennas are needed to cover the entire city. So for example, in Berlin right now, we have about 10 antennas, and they cover the entire city of Berlin. And that's about I think about 4 million people in Berlin. Versus the other networks where they are saturated with those antennas that are, there's like thousands of antennas in the city, and they're providing redundant coverage. So, so many antennas are not needed, and essentially it becomes less interesting for the community to mine because your rewards go down.
Your antenna has 9 radios, 7 radios, a lot of radios.
Yeah, we are a network that kind of like aggregates all of the IoT protocols. We're not focusing on any particular protocol, because every single communications protocol, it has its advantages and disadvantages, but all of the protocols are being used. So we're a network that supports multiple protocols, and from the supplies from the usage side, essentially we're radio agnostic. So you can buy any device on the internet and you can connect it to our network. So we're not developing any hardware from the usage side, only the antennas. So. And
the device is for sale?
So the device is not yet for sale. It's not available to the public. We have a wait list. So if you are interested in buying a miner, you can go to chirptoken.io and you can sign up for our wait list. And
fantastic.
Yep.
Saber, let's talk about the hardware that you guys have developed in the world of cellular technology with global incumbents. T-Mobile, I think they own everything. But talk about building hardware in this space.
Yeah, so we actually didn't touch on the hardware as much. What we've done is we've dabbled in the orchestration layer. So unlike Tim and Chirp, we don't really touch the IoT market. We're primarily in the cellular connectivity, so 3G, 4G, and we're going to be launching the 5G nodes as well. But we partner up with other manufacturers, and we add basically just an orchestration, like a zero-touch provisioning aspect, so that as soon as you receive that device, you're able to plug it in and connect to the internet on one end, and then provide cellular connectivity for any smartphone to connect. And not just that, I mean, one of the key challenges with heavily regulated industries like telecom is the security and the safety. So 911, for example, lawful intercept. These are all regulatory hurdles that you have to have.
What is lawful intercept?
So lawful intercept is basically, you know, the Canadian RCMP or, you know, the American counterparts that want to tap into your phone line because they suspect there's some suspicious activity, and you actually have, by law, according to the regulations, have to intercept that call and send it back to them live as it happens, which, you know, it happens, and there's no way around it until we move to a completely decentralized environment. And this is going to take years to get, but we need to start. No matter how much you encrypt it. I mean, you know, people say, okay, it's peer-to-peer encrypted. There are still, you know, requirements, let's say, by law that you have to abide. So all this stuff, there's no way we would, like, this would be another decade for us to develop our own hardware to do that. But we focus more on that orchestration layer to provide the connectivity and helping bridge the digital divide. And the digital divide is, I mean, when you think about it, 1/3 of the world's population is still in the dark today, which, you know, it's crazy when you think about it, because, you know, United Nations and a lot of countries have declared the internet to be a lifeline. Like it's just like water, you know, or food. And so when you think about the metric there, it's not so much about a Web3 solution. It's actually just helping day-to-day people, but using blockchain technologies to, and it's very paradoxical, but when you think about using, building trust networks, using zero trust systems, it's actually pretty funny when you think about it, but that's literally what it is. And that's why blockchain is going to play a significant role in helping build these networks and use the multiplier effect to be able to roll it out rapidly. So it's more like we're more on that orchestration layer and the Shopify experience of how do you launch a mobile network, or I'm going to call it a micro mobile network, because it's your home, your community, your oil and gas, private LTE, and become part of a much larger network with seamless roaming, seamless global connectivity with single identity. That's basically it.
One of the things that you mentioned is, you know, going in an area where there's a lot of regulation. You're also battling global incumbents. Both of you are. What is the biggest challenge when you're trying to compete against an Uber or Lyft, against a T-Mobile, against kind of these mega corporations with invincible amounts of money, teams, resources? What is the biggest challenge, and what are you doing to kind of be nimble to try to beat them?
Yeah, maybe I'll start, and I'm sure Tim will have something to add. So building networks for over 25 years. I've launched an MVNO, for example. So believe it or not, in Canada. Can you
explain what an MVNO is?
So an MNO stands for mobile network operator, which would be operators with infrastructure, spectrum licenses. MVNOs stand for mobile virtual network operators, which are basically writing off, an MNO's network. So there's about over 250 MVNOs in the US, including Helium. I'm sure a lot of us here have heard about Helium. They would be considered an MVNO. In Canada, on the other side, just to give you an example, in a lot of other countries, there are actually 0 MVNOs because the regulator doesn't allow that. And obviously the oligopolies get together and lobby government all day long to say, you know, this is not a good idea. Look what's happened in other places. And so I've had a really bad experience and a lot of experience building these types of networks. And the key point that I took from that lesson is do not go head to head with $1 billion oligopoly or $1 trillion oligopoly. You give them a value add that they could leverage and become a partner. Because there's enough for everybody, but if you go head to head, you're going to lose. Because it's not even just even if you overcome an AT&T or a Bell Mobility or whomever, you're not going to overcome a regulator that's being lobbied every day by those oligopolies, right? So I think there's a good balance there, and that's kind of the approach we're taking. Is how do we? And this is one of the unique points that we're building on Sui as Karrier One is the spectrum donor concept. So we're rolling out networks using licensed spectrum, but we all know that bidding on spectrum costs billions of dollars. But if we're able to get an AT&T or a Dish Network to leverage some of their unutilized spectrum and give them back a piece of the pie for no deployment, no capex, that's a differentiator. And that's where we pride ourselves at Karrier One, that we've developed a model that allows for that. Thank you. Tim?
It's actually a little bit easier for us because our network utilizes license-free spectrum. So we do not fall under regulations in any countries. And our radios, when they get shipped, the antennas that you install, when they get shipped from the factory, so you specify your address where you're going to be installing that antenna, and we make sure that it matches the regulation requirements of that particular country. But that's pretty much it. We just need to know where, in what country that antenna will be installed, and you can install it anywhere in the world. That's with the power of DePIN, we were able to grow our network. I mean, like if you think about it, like the regular telcos, how come you don't see them operating globally? You see most of the telcos, they operate in one country. And that's because it's very time-consuming, it's very expensive, and it's very labor-intensive to deploy the radio access network, the actual physical antennas. And with power of DePIN, by installing the antenna on your house, you already have electricity there, you already have internet in there. You don't need to buy land, you do not need to lease land, you don't need to fence the property to protect your equipment. Essentially, you're using your house and you already have all of that. But this is what regular telcos need to go through in order to install just one radio tower. It's very, very time consuming. And by the time they're done with rolling out the radio access network, the new technology comes out and they need to upgrade everything. So with power of DePIN, with the power of community, we were able to distribute the radio access network in 33 countries in just 3 months. And this is truly amazing. It was not possible before DePIN.
And the infrastructure cost of doing that, if it wasn't DePIN, would be in the huge dollar value.
Yeah, with DePIN, it's zero, essentially.
Firdosh?
I guess for us, always I've heard this, that Drive is a very ambitious project to compete against something big as Uber and other company. But we're not competing, we are fighting to give drivers a better livelihood. And that's what I've been working from day one, to give them access to what they deserve. And that's how maybe we are slow in growing as compared to others, but we are working for impact and not for optics. And slowly and gradually, the idea of Drive was always to change lives one ride at a time. And for us, it's a very big validation every time when you meet a driver and they tell you to use Drive because he get to make more money. And that's what we want to build, a community of drivers who earn what they deserve to earn. And that's how our approach has been. And if you look at how we have even acquired our user base, our cost is still 1/10 of the cost of Uber spending money to get the user. We spend 1/10 of the money that they spend. And even they asked us how you guys are doing that at 1/10 of our cost. It's because we are able to give to the community what they've been asking for so long. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of, even in Paris, there's been long battle going on between driver association and Uber. There's a case pending in the courts where drivers are asking a very basic of, give us the money that we deserve. And it's just this is a community that's not being heard enough. And we want to be their voice and give them what they deserve. And that's how things get easier for us when people understand the reason why this application is built in the first place. When they know that it's been built for me, I'm going to use it and also tell others to use the platform.
Fantastic. So we've got 2 more questions. 30 seconds on this one. We talked about community quickly here. You two are launching NFT projects. Can you quickly describe what the project is and how it's adding value to your overall goals?
So we launched the Carrier Pigeons NFTs, and it was a way of just helping build a community for us. One of the things that we don't do very well in the telco space is building communities. And that's why we suffer from what's known as churn, where customers leave and they go to another operator and then they switch back, and it's like a ping pong game. But we feel like by building a community first and then providing that value add for them, we're able to listen to their needs and address some of these churn issues. And also that sense of ownership now, where you actually own the network and you run the network and you maintain the network and you're part of the network is really a key differentiator. So yeah, the NFTs were just a way, and I'm sure some of my other co-founders that come from the Web3 space might disagree a little bit with me, but from my perspective, it's just the community building aspect of the whole project.
Carrier Pigeons available for sale. Buy them.
I actually smiled when you said carrier pigeons because it seems like Sui is becoming this bird theme. You know, we're at Chirp. So Chirp is actually, it's a signal that radio devices emit, Chirp spread spectrum. But we also have this bird theme. Awesome. And we're going to be dropping egg NFTs. So
they're coming as well
to our community members. And this egg NFT is going to be the first stage to participate in Chirp. So essentially, all you have to do is just register a Sui wallet on our dashboard. Chirptoken.io, and you can log into the dashboard. This is the dashboard that you can actually use for real-world devices. So if you have coverage in your area, or if you're buying a miner, you can install different types of devices. You can automate your house. Or if there's coverage from somebody else in the area, because those antennas, they are long range, you can already start using the network. And it's for different businesses. You know, they can connect the devices, automate their business, so on and so forth. And this egg NFT is going to give you access to our network. And then it's going to progress, and the egg is going to hatch, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, I can't
dynamic things, yeah.
Yeah.
No giveaways. So, okay, last question here. A year from today, we're going to come back. And what's the one big goal that you guys have that we're going to come and celebrate? So one line from each of you, and then I think we're done for the day. Starting with you, Samir.
Global network, single identity. I think that's, yeah.
All right.
It's difficult for me because we're working on something huge, and unfortunately, we're going to announce it maybe next month. So
longer than a line, but you know,
you're kind of putting me in this situation.
To be continued is the answer. And Firdosh?
I guess for us, we have an international launch coming in. We're going live in Dubai next month, sorry, not next year. But we have a few more international cities that we are working on. So in a year, we're going to go beyond India. That's the plan.
Very exciting. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you all for coming out. I hope you enjoyed the day.